Good afternoon. I'm Danielle Shank in the 1011 Now streaming studio for a special stream. So joining now is Grace McDonald with Pure Nebraska. How's it going?
It's going well. How are you, Danielle?
Doing great. So today we're talking a little bit about our daily newscasts don't really allow for much time when it comes to special streams and telling stories that can be really in-depth, emotional, things like that. So Grace wanted to hop on a stream where we can kind of slow things down a little bit and talk more about a story she's been deeply invested in. So for viewers just joining us, how can you kind of start by laying the foundation here? What's this story about?
Well, for my job with Pure Nebraska, I travel across the state covering agriculture, and one of the programs that pops up or keeps popping up is Nebraska Agribility. And that program basically helps out farmers who have illnesses or disabilities that can sometimes cause obstacles so that it makes it a little more difficult to complete their jobs. And this program is led by the University of Nebraska, Lincoln Extension, and Eastern Seals, Nebraska. Primarily, it's funded by the USDA. And I got in touch with a gal named Emily Jacobson, who's based out of Petersburg, Nebraska, and that's her job is to be a program manager for Nebraska Agribility. And she introduced me to someone who was willing to share their journey with this program, just because it is kind of difficult to talk about the struggles that we face. I grew up in central Nebraska, and I believe you did too, Danielle, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and some of the strongest people I know are farmers, but she introduced me to a husband and wife who started their operation in Syracuse in 2013. It's Eric and Amanda Foss. And in partnership with other families, they own or rent a couple of 100 acres and raise a small herd there. They started it out, though, with only 20 acres and 5 cows, so it's crazy how much it's grown. On the side, Eric used to work with custom hay businesses, trenching, seed cleaning, all sorts of side gigs, and his wife Amanda worked for the Natural Resources Conservation Service until a traumatic brain injury kind of caused some issues with their lives, and it just changed everything. So that's kind of me laying out the format for this type of story.
Right. And so we're going to show you a couple of packages here today connected to this story. The first one takes us back to 2021 when 1011 first covered the fire chief's accident.
First, a local fire chief fighting for his life. Now we're learning the next day will be critical to his survival. It's our top story on 1011 Now at 10. Good evening. I'm Bill Shammert.
And I'm Kelsey Passold. Tonight, the chief of the Syracuse Volunteer Fire Department remains in critical condition in a medically induced coma.
This after an accident at a local fair left him with severe brain damage. New at 10, 1011 Now's Ellis Wiltsey spoke with those close to him and has more.
On Saturday, Eric Foss was here just helping his daughter show livestock. That's when day of fun turned scary.
Eric's a joyful guy. He's a fun guy. I mean, he's just one of those guys that you want to talk to and drink a beer with.
36-year-old Eric Foss was walking livestock from this building to this ring across the street when a car backfired and spooked the cattle.
Being a cattleman, when the cow was running, Eric was, holding the cow and trying to stop him. Where he got tripped, and when he fell and hit his head on the side of the road on the curb.
Eric's friends tell us his brain injuries are severe. He underwent emergency surgery to remove a piece of his skull for swelling and continues to have internal brain bleeding.
He was actually had to be resuscitated after he fell. And so he's in a drug-induced coma while they're allowing the brain swelling to go down.
Eric is known as a pillar of the community, the fire chief since last year, and a farmer outside of that. DeGoyer says since the accident, the community continues to step up, doing everything from tending to his livestock to walking his 2 young boys so his wife can be at the hospital.
It makes you know why you live in a small town. I mean, it really does. It has been absolutely amazing.
DeGoyer says in conversations with doctors and Eric's wife, Amanda, that the next 24 hours are vital when it comes to brain swelling.
It hasn't gotten any worse, but it hasn't really gotten any better since it's happened. So tonight and leading into tomorrow are pretty critical for that to start happening, for us to see some kind of improvement.
The community has set up a caring bridge to help with donations and fundraising, and in September it's hosting a tractor poker run for Eric's family. Reporting in Syracuse, Ellis Wiltsey, 1011 Now.
First, a local
Alrighty, now those were some really frightening days for his family and friends, but we also saw the community kind of step up in a big way, helping care for the livestock, the kids, and even raising some funds there. So I imagine that support really meant everything.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm from a small town, and I know that when disaster hits, that's just kind of the time for people to rally around each other and treat each other like family. And this is a perfect instance of how community members could just kind of pitch in to help each other out.
Yeah, kind of back to that Nebraska Strong theme, after the floods came, it really carries on. So just talk about the fact that Eric even survived.
Yes, and it's nothing short of a miracle that he was even able to live through the night. Like, my heart goes out to what Amanda must have been thinking during that time, and she kind of shared some of what was on her heart with me as well. Just the medical technology really impressed me. He had a craniotomy. I think that's how you say it, craniotomy. But it's a really serious procedure because of the subdural hematoma he was having. It was interesting how the doctors had put a skull in the lining of his stomach to keep him alive and allow his brain to swell out. So it's just amazing what our bodies are capable of, too.
Yeah, putting the skull in the lining of the stomach it's hard to wrap your brain around how that actually works.
Yeah.
And what makes that work. So Eric eventually did make it home and kind of set the stage for us here. Grace, what are we going to see in this next package?
Well, word has spread across Syracuse at that point, but also all across the state. So you have people coming out of the woodwork, including the fire department and different community organizations that are helping to schedule benefits just to help the Foss family out in their time of need. And that's what we're going to see is some of the support that came because of the story that people were beginning to hear.
Alrighty.
Today, friends and family celebrated the Syracuse fire chief's return home after suffering from a traumatic brain injury. After months of recovery, community members celebrated the chief coming home just in time for the holidays. 10/11 Samantha Burnt has more.
Madison, I'm in Syracuse where friends and family of Eric Foss are celebrating him coming home just in time for the holidays. In July, Eric Foss was helping his daughter show livestock at the Otto County Fair. He was walking livestock when a cow was spooked and ran off. Foss tried to stop the cow to keep it from hurting anyone else when he fell and hit his head.
All he did was hit his head on a rock, and he ended up having a traumatic brain injury from that.
After 4 long months of rehabilitation at Madonna Rehabilitation Hospital here in Lincoln, Foss was finally able to return home to his Syracuse farm on Friday. Throughout his recovery, the Syracuse community has rallied behind his family.
From the beginning, I just felt like I had to do something, so we did the tractor poker run benefit in September, and then Amanda's been keeping close contact with me and said that he was coming home yesterday, and so in a couple days we just threw it together, and we knew that when we said something, people would come, and here we are.
Today, friends and family lined South 26th Road to give Foss a welcome home parade just in time for the holidays. Reisdorf says the community supports Foss because he would do the same thing for any one of them.
Eric's the reason for all of this, and sometimes I'm just the one that helps Amanda get the word out, but it doesn't take much for our community to come together.
Reisdorf says Foss still has rehabilitation to do, but happy his family gets to have him home where they can all be together at once.
At the hospital or Madonna, they couldn't all be together at the same place because of COVID restrictions, and this is just going to mean so much to them.
Reisdorf says Foss still has rehabilitation to do, but the support doesn't end today. The community will be sending meals to the family as well as helping out around the family farm. Reporting live in Syracuse, Samantha Burnt, 10/11 Now.
Today, friends and family celebrate.
Alrighty, so that was the second story there about Foss coming home. And so you actually spoke with Emily Jacobson with Nebraska Agribility. How did she find out about this story and the Foss family?
Just by watching the news and tuning into 10/11. That's kind of what she does, is she looks for stories like that. She told me that there's an estimated 10,000 people in Nebraska who may be dealing with injuries or illness, and not all of them know about Nebraska Agribility, or if they do, they don't reach out. And so that's kind of how she heard about their, story, and then she mailed them out some of the resources that they would need. So
That's super interesting. And so now kind of fast forward nearly 4 years to today around this time, you recently caught up with Eric. So how's he kind of doing now?
Well, with traumatic brain injuries, everyone is different. No one really knows how one will completely recover or won't completely recover. And Eric, in his case, he has some issues with left side mobility. So they use some adaptive technology with the equipment that he now has through Nebraska Agribility to make it able for him to use with mostly his right side. But he also had something called a tracheostomy. And with that, he needs to use an electrolarynx to speak. So his interview, he was able to tell me a few words, and I'm excited to share those in the story that aired this morning. But that's kind of what he's dealing with physically. Otherwise, Foss Farms downsized their operation, of course, because it's just a lot. And a local firefighter, Skylar Argo, who was there that day, on the day where he experienced his traumatic brain injury, he joined the Foss Farms as a partner. They rebranded it to Down Home Beef, which is, it uses a local meat locker to process meats that are marketed straight to consumers. And they source from other producers. They also bought A&E Feeds, and Amanda kind of described these businesses as being ran as a multi-family partnership. So, of course, like they had to pull back a little bit in the beginning, but it really seems to be growing with a lot more farming families.
Yeah. And so what kind of made Skylar Argo join him as a partner? I mean, obviously they kind of work together, but what inspired him to join up?
Well, when I talked to Skylar, because he happened to be passing by that day when I was interviewing Amanda and Eric, and Amanda's like, Skylar, get over here. So she roped him into a little interview with me. And he mentioned that Eric, he described him as a hoot. I believe those were his same words, a hoot who would do anything for anybody. I mean, when you're the fire chief of a volunteer fire department, you're used to rescuing others. And I'm sure there was a lot of personal growth that came with, having to be the one rescued.
Right. And so running a farm, especially one involving livestock, no easy task. So how has this long recovery kind of impacted the family and the kids?
It's been interesting to see what Amanda calls blessings that have come out of this situation. She said that Eric's daughter, her name is Jaden, she had always been considering a career in nursing, but now she's going to school for that. And this was just kind of the extra push that she needed, because I believe she was there that day when the accident happened as well. So she is trying to learn to help others, serve others in this life. And his two young sons, they were just boys at the time, but now they're entering like teenage years. And they both also want to be a part of the farming operation someday. They're going around helping Skylar out, but they'll even ride along with their dad while he's feeding cattle with some of this assistive technology. So it's cool to see, like, obviously it's traumatizing to see that happen to someone who you love, but just how the kids have handled it has been impressive to me too.
Yeah, they've truly just been embracing the situation and making the most of what they can. So we'll show here a little snippet of the interview, correct?
Yes. Yep. This is Amanda and Eric.
Just a boy and his dad feeding the vats after a winter storm.
We decided that we were going to sell our beef direct to consumer because we thought it was important to share the value of what we had with other people. And then we could kind of form our own niche and our own market and set our own future. We're big dreamers. We don't let things define what we can or can't do. And I believe God has a bigger plan for us. And so we just kind of let him write our story and we live it and do the best that we can for ourselves and for other people.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, it was very touching.
And so what is your story here about this morning, kind of related to an update on all of this?
Well, we've shown people a lot of bits and pieces of just what 1011 has covered in the past, and then a brief look at Amanda and Eric as people. But the story that aired on Pure Nebraska this morning, it has, quotes from Eric, because I was able to talk to him after he's experienced all of this. So we'll see, his few words about everything he's experienced. We'll also get a chance to see him using the assistive technology that he's gotten through grants that Nebraska Agribility has put into the hands of him and his family. So we'll be able to watch that in action. And then finally, I did present like a shorter segment on Pure Nebraska in the second half hour when Emily Jacobson, the Nebraska Agribility Program Manager, was talking about how people can access these resources. Like if they know a farmer who might be struggling with something as simple but not simple as like chronic pain or back issues, there's like so much more advanced technology that is at the fingertips of farmers today.
Yeah, a lot of follow-up stories or break-offs kind of related to this. You know, you could go into your own story about Nebraska Agribility and how it can help everyone, and then eventually the kids, you know, pursuing their dreams, especially the daughter going into nursing because of this. Just some great stories coming out of a devastating accident, but they surely are making the most of it. That you said you have a package and a shorter version available on our website. Is that correct?
Yep, it's on the Pure Nebraska website, so people can find that on our app or just go online.
Yeah, there are a lot of stories that Grace explores, as she had mentioned at the beginning, exploring all of Nebraska, and really does a great job covering, especially when it comes to our town segments. You guys do a fantastic job.
Yes, John and Taryn are really great about featuring the best of small towns, and I'm so glad to be a part of that journey. And I'm just super honored that the Foss family trusted me with this story, because it is a heartbreaking one and a very personal one. But, you know, Amanda told me their hope is that their success story can help others. Like Eric's goal is to become a motivational speaker someday and be on a stage to just kind of show how he's faced adversity and overcome it.
Yeah, I'm glad there's some good things coming out of that. And with Pure Nebraska, if you ever want to know more about the state that you're living in, Pure Nebraska is the place to go and to watch Taryn, John, and Grace do all their best work. So, Grace, thank you so much for joining us here.
Thank you.
And continuing to tell this story.
Oh, yes, of course.
Well, for more coverage, you can head over to 1011now.com. Follow us on all our social media. And don't forget to download 1011 on the Roku app for the latest news of the day. From our newsroom to wherever you are, we'll see you on the next stream.
1011 News is everywhere. Download our smart TV apps and follow us on social media at 1011 News.